What is up, you guys? Welcome to another video. Actually, this one is a new gamer talk. So we're doing gamer talk today, you guys. Alright, so today we're going to talk about a very important category of mine, and one of my favorite series of all time, and that is Final Fantasy and Squareenix. The Squareenix, the Jrpg juggernaut. So really we're going to talk about a couple of topics here. We're going to be talking about the future of Squareenix, and of course the future of and the Final Fantasy series, the future of Final Fantasy series, and the direction that they're taking it, and like what are they doing to impact it and to change it for the greater good, actually. We're also going to be talking about remakes. Does this open the doors up for future remakes, like Final Fantasy? What is it? Final Fantasy, like what Final Fantasies do I want to see remade? Like as far as the older games go, it's because it's a lot of Final Fantasy games. Actually, it's not many. It's not many down. It's really, I'm gonna just stick to three. I'm gonna stick to three Final Fantasy games that me personally want to see remade. Now, don't get me wrong. I am biased towards Final Fantasy. I'm letting you guys know that now. No matter what anybody says, Final Fantasy is my shit. Like, so anybody, you can have somebody come up to me and tell me, "Oh man, Chris, man, what was your favorite Final Fantasy?" Or they'll tell me like, "Oh, Final Fantasy 13 sucks," or "What is your favorite one?" and all this bullshit here. Man, I'm gonna let that fool know that, hey, bruh, chill out. You can't talk about Final Fantasy. That's my shit. I like all of them, including the side games. Besides, maybe Revenant, Final Fantasy 12 Revenant on DS. I mean, that wasn't my cup of tea. But still, don't talk about Final Fantasy. I like all of them. I don't discriminate. Okay? So, alright, man. So, let's get off into the first topic of what Square Enix is doing for the future as far as Final Fantasy goes. Alright, so they got two big titles that they are really working on, right? You got Final Fantasy VII Remake that they're still working on. Even though we got the first part, they're still working on it and making it better. You got that, and you got one that I'm personally is super excited for is Final Fantasy 16. So let's talk about the direction that they are taking the Final Fantasy genre. So Final Fantasy, they're definitely leaning more towards the action RPG, which I was kind of skeptical of. You know, I'm used to turn-based on traditional JRPG style. So with them going to action, as far as like, because I mean, you know, 15 was action RPG, but I mean, and I enjoyed it. I liked it. I mean, 15 was fine to me. But action RPGs is just not something that that Final Fantasy is known for, and that's what a lot of people was like, "Oh man, dang, they sticking to the action," because a lot of people didn't like 15. Like 15 was popular, and it was, that's because a lot of people say that it was overhyped, and I think the reason being because it took so damn long for that game to come out. But I mean, when they released the Royal Edition and everything, the game was dope. Like I mean, I still ain't even done everything in the 15 Royal Edition. I still need to go play like the little side chapters. I platinumed the original 15 though, so don't count me out on that bullshit. But anyway, that's another story. But for as far as 15 and like them going to the action route, 16 looks like they're going full on Kingdom Hearts actioning. Like, if you look at that, man, like that game is going full on action. Full on action. I don't even know how that's going to work with a party system though. So I'm looking at it, seeing they going definitely more, and this one does look character driven though. Like pretty much all the Final Fantasy the story looks like it's going to be amazing, y'all. I'm not going to even fake. The story look like it's going to be great in this game. I am so excited for it. But one thing that I hope that they do is definitely have party. They have to have a party in this game. If they do not have like a party in this game, because And then I feel like they definitely need some females in there, because that was another complaint of Final Fantasy 15 is that, hey, there were no female characters, it was all dudes. It was just a sausage fest. But and that disappointed some people, because it's like, dang, where the females at? So I definitely, if this game, I would care less if it did have all men. I would like a female character added, or female characters, plural, added to this. But as long as they have a party, as long as they have the party and the characters are very story driven, then I feel like 16 could end up being one of the greatest ones, man. Especially with it taking this whole new action direction. Granted, 15 was definitely action gameplay, but I felt that the gameplay was a little bit underdeveloped. I'm not going to even lie to you. 15's the gameplay was a little underdeveloped to me. I really didn't too much like the way they did summons. How you had to meet a certain criteria in order to freaking summon them. Like, that was whack to me. I like for them to be so cool looking and powerful. That was completely garbage. And I've always liked the fact of fighting alongside of your summons. So hopefully, and then like I said with this one, these look like two different characters, and they look like the only two characters that you're gonna end up fucking playing with in this game. So I don't I don't know. With these two, I mean, I don't know how it's gonna go, because the only two main characters that we're really seeing so far are these two, the young kid, which supposedly has a summon in him, and all that good noise. So we're definitely gonna see what they do with that. I'm still looking forward to it, and I can't wait to see how I mean what they do with it. I'm excited about it either way, because hell, it's Final Fantasy. It's my ish. So the next thing that we're really going to talk about is definitely the direction with Final Fantasy 7. Man, like what they're doing with 7 is pretty fucking epic. I'm not gonna even lie to you. Final Fantasy 7, it's dope. The way they're doing it is great, man. It's definitely getting a lot of love from the RPG community, because I know a lot of people were fans of Final Fantasy 7 when it originally came out. So I mean, with it getting as much hype as it is getting, of course everybody was hyped about it. They was like, oh man, finally we getting this game, this remake of this game. So shit, man, I'm super excited for it. Now, well, I remember when they first originally came out, when they first announced it, I didn't know if it was going to be turn-based or if it was going to be action. I didn't know how the way they were going to do it. But the way that it turned out, yeah, it turned out pretty fucking great. Like, a Final Fantasy 7 remake, man, that gameplay, they really put some work into that gameplay. Now, granted, the game, a lot of people argued with me. I was like, hey, this game, a lot of people fussed at, what was it, 13, because of its how linear it was. But the 7 is just as linear, but what's different about 7 is definitely the gameplay. A lot of people complained about the gameplay in 13 too. It was just like, hey, the game was you just pressing buttons, you just pressing X the whole time, which necessarily wasn't the case. You really had to use it took some strategy with the paradigm shifts and all that to be in defensive mode, debuffing mode, healing, and to be on full-blown attack mode, breaking the character's defense, and all that stuff got incorporated even to 7, just with a action-based gameplay. But and it also goes along to the story of how they're taking Final Fantasy 7 as well. So Final Fantasy 7, from what it looks like they're doing, it looks like they're taking the original game, and what you did in the original, or I say the story of the original game is going to be part, well, we already know, like, the story is going to be part of the compilation, right? That's pretty much confirmed with all, like, spoiler alert, I'm going to explain pretty much kind of like what happened at the end of Final Fantasy 7 Remake. So at the end of 7 Remake, you fighting these, the Arbiters of Fate, or whatever the hell those things were. And the whole time while you playing the game, it seems like they're trying to make the original events of the original Final Fantasy 7 game happen. So, I can tell you this, man. And once you kill that boss, it's like Square was like, hey, we can do anything. We can do anything we want to do with this story now, because we can bring Zack back. We can, Aerith can do something. There's a Sephiroth no more than he knows. He's a part of this. What the hell Sephiroth got going on? So I'm gonna tell you what I want most from the Final Fantasy VII. From the Final Fantasy VII, ish. The thing I want most. And the thing I want most for Final Fantasy VII. The one thing that I want the most. I want Sephiroth to be a good guy. I want Sephiroth, Cloud, and Zack definitely to team up to finally take out Jenova. Because, I mean, if you think about it, if you really think about it, Sephiroth really wasn't a bad guy. He was just bad at the world. He wanted to wipe out the world. He found out what really happened to him. So, like, Sephiroth wasn't really a bad guy, man. He was a soldier. He was a hero, you know. So he just, you know, had some screw loose after he found out what really happened to his ass. All right. So with that being said, if you play on Sephiroth, if you think of Zack, Sephiroth, and Cloud getting together, that brings back to like the three friends that from Crisis Core. You had what, Genesis, Angel, and Sephiroth. You had those three. Those were the three like main soldiers of not Avalanche, of Shinra. So like, how dope would it be for them? And I would like them to for Jenova to be the main. Like, I want to see like the true form of Jenova. They've always shown her in like this female like form in that tank or whatever. But I want them to show like Jenova when she first hit the earth and wiped out the ancients and all that good stuff. I want to see like this epic battle redone, but with Cloud, Zack, and Sephiroth trying to end this battle. Of course, but they bringing everybody back, so I doubt that would happen. But how dope would that be for that to be the last boss battle where y'all fight Sephiroth and he's like, oh, okay, and then Jenova just comes out and she becomes the main threat because she was controlling Sephiroth in these arbiters of fate the whole time. Like, it's so many different theories out there for how they're going to do Final Fantasy VII, man. It's so many. But that's just one of the things that I am excited to see what they do with Final Fantasy VII. These graphics, man, this integrate. Look at these 60 frames. Playing this shit in 60 frames. I mean, bro, this is gonna be amazing, man. This is gonna be hella fun to go through again, man. I'm playing this game again. I already beat it. I think I beat it. No, I beat it once. No, I beat it twice. I did beat it twice. I went through that game twice. I'm going to go through it one more time. Actually, I'm going to go through it 2 more times. I don't know, man. I think I'm going to do my best to try to platinum this game. I'm going to do my best to try to platinum, but they got some hard bosses in there. But I'm going to do my best to try to platinum it. And especially with this Yuffie chapter coming out, man. It looks hella fun. So I'm excited to see what all that goes down with that, man. I'm super stoked. Alright, so that's what I think. So they got pretty much the future plan for these two. These are the 2 big projects that Square has got coming out now, man. So those are 2 very big projects that we got a chance to look forward to, and hopefully we see some more news for 16, because we haven't seen that much stuff about 16 since that big PlayStation event. So hopefully we see more stuff. All right, on to the next subject. All right, so remakes, and what can what can Square Enix do in the vault of Final Fantasy games? What can they do with those old ass games, that classics that people would like to see remade? Now I'm gonna say 3 Final Fantasy games that I think should be remade, like real shit. So first one, definitely my favorite Final Fantasy, or one of my favorite Final Fantasy games, is definitely Final Fantasy IV. I really think that Final Fantasy IV should be remade. That game was very story driven, and just hella good, man. So I really think they owe it to Final Fantasy IV, especially for it to have one of the only Final Fantasies to have a sequel. One of the only Final Fantasies to have a sequel after years. That game was dope, man. And the characters in Final Fantasy IV were just, they were really fleshed out characters. I say that they were really fleshed out characters. From Cecil, you see the growth in all the characters. That's what made it so dope. Now, this is gonna be an unpopular opinion, but out of every Final Fantasy game, you see the most growth out of those characters in Final Fantasy IV out of any Final Fantasy game. Even in Final Fantasy V with Bart, you see a lot of growth with him and the characters in that game, and in Final Fantasy VI. But 6 had so many characters. But we'll talk about that later. But in Final Fantasy IV, man, like, you see Cecil come from a Dark Knight to go to a Paladin and then him and Rosa, you see the relationship between them grow. And then Rydia, you see Rydia go from a little kid into a woman, and just coming back with summons and just coming out as a beast black mage. Rydia became that powerful as hell, bro, and it was awesome. With Kane made me fall in love with Dragoons. No homo. The Dragoons were like I didn't like, Dragoons were dope, but when I saw Kane, man, Kane, dude, like, he was such a cool ass character, bro. Such a cool ass character. And the fact, and then in after years, you see Kane fight against himself, and fight just like how Cecil did, fought against himself and became the a holy dragoon. You can't tell me, dude, that's the coldest shit. That is the coldest shit, bro. Look at these characters, man. Final Fantasy, and then like after years, you play with Cecil's son. It's like, dude, that's cold as fuck, bro. Excuse the language, but like, dude, that game is like, that game was the shit. That game was the shit. So I think that one definitely deserves a remake, remaster for PlayStation 5, brought to modern day graphics, because that DS one, it does not count. They had big heads, they were chibi characters. It was fun to play still. Other than I enjoyed the sprite version more than the DS version. Like, real talk, I did. Like, the DS version was straight, and I played it. That's the main one I play when I decide to go back and do a challenge or replay the game. I always choose that one. I think this time around, when I play the challenge, I'm definitely gonna do the 2D one though. I think I'm definitely gonna do it. It just felt better. All right, so the next one, the next game, the next Final Fantasy that should definitely get remade. Shit, this one's a no-brainer. Definitely Final Fantasy VI. Final Fantasy VI is definitely the next one that should get remade. Reason being, everybody loved that damn game. Next to 7, that was the next most popular Final Fantasy. That and Final Fantasy VI is the highest rated Final Fantasy out of like the critics. Like, critics ratings, that one was the highest Final Fantasy ever rated, even more so than Final Fantasy VII. Like that now, what made that game so? This is unpopular opinion too, but that game was also linear as hell too. A lot of people don't want to admit that, but that game was linear. You go through like different chapters with different characters. They were spread out through the world of Final Fantasy VI, and that game was linear too. But what made that game so good is that it was also character driven as well. Because you playing those different chapters with each of these characters, with Edgar, what was his name? It started with an S, didn't it? Every time I think, I forget the monk dude. I forget his name every time. But you had important characters like Edgar. You had Terra, of course. You had the Shadow dude, which he wasn't really that important. You had Celeste. Celeste was important. I didn't really pay too much attention to the blue magic thing, even though his abilities was pretty good with blue magic. Blue magic is always OP. Who else you had, man? Setzer. You had Setzer, the Sky Pirate Setzer. He was also an important character as well. It's just, it was a lot, like, the game was very character driven. It was very good. It was very good as far as characters. But of course, we all know which one of the most important things what people like about that game, and that is fucking Kefka. Everybody loved Kefka, man. I don't know why. I hated his ass. I hated Kefka, man. Like, I didn't hate him. Like, I liked him as a villain. Like, Kefka was a good villain. He was a hell of a good villain, man. Like, if you want, like, man, you put Kefka in, so I would pretty much describe Kefka as Joker with godlike powers. That's the best way to describe Kefka. Kefka was evil as hell, man. He killed a lot of people in that game. Like, no shit. He killed a lot of people. I don't know what was wrong with him. Kefka was pretty ridiculous as a character, man. He was always killing people. He was always scheming. And he was just evil, dude. He was a formidable villain. Very formidable. Now, it would be great to see this game remade, man. Like, it would be good to see this remade in classic, in modern day graphics. And because, I mean, all we got is like this phone port that they brought to PC and Windows, and you got the originals that came out on like Super Nintendo, and you got the whatchamacallit, you have the one that came on PlayStation that came with Chrono Trigger. You got that one. Chrono Trigger. That's also another one that I would like to see get remade. Chrono Trigger needs to get remade. That was a classic fucking game, man. That game needs to get remade. Alright, so on to the next one. Now, this one's kind of tough, like, to figure out which game that I would like to get remade out of 6, after 6. What would I choose, man? You know what? It would definitely be one of the games where you can change classes. But, like, let's go with the classic Final Fantasy 1. Definitely playing with the heroes light in that game, or 3 would be good too. Final Fantasy 1 or 3. Can't say 2. Only reason I say, like, cause 2 had they had set characters. You had Furion, shit, I forgot the other 2 characters' names. But it was like another big guy and a chick that you played with. I forgot their names. And I just recently started replaying that game. That's embarrassing. But those would be the Final Fantasy 2. I wouldn't count because the way the level system was in that game. Like, it was, it was kind of cheap too, because like you could just get hit and your HP would level up. Like, you could you could cheat that game like a motherfucker, man. Like, you could cheat that game and you can just level up by just doing certain actions. Attacking, your attack goes up. Doing magic, your MP and magic power goes up. Like, that game, like, you could easily break that game and be OP as hell. But so I wouldn't even count that one. And I wouldn't do 8. I couldn't. I mean, I love 8, but 8 would be good to see modern day. It probably would be good to see modern day, but I still wouldn't do it. I don't know. 8 rubbed me the wrong way with that draw system. So I would rather see Final Fantasy 1 remade. Okay, so I'm gonna explain why I would like to see one remade. Because that one had the class changes. Dude, to see class changes done in modern day gaming and modern day systems with the action gameplay, can you imagine doing like combos, switching classes, like you being a warrior, then you switch to a ninja or a knight, and then like just going ham on doing different skills? Bro, that would be amazing. That would be fun to play. That would be fun, like action or action Final Fantasy game where you can change classes mid combat. That would be sick. But I mean, I wouldn't do it. I don't know if I would do it mid com. Like, I guess that would still be kind of fun. That would be dope. I don't like, yeah, F that. That would be dope. That would be dope. Like if I could switch to a black mage to a red mage on the go and get different skills that would help me benefit me more in a battle, or if the enemies that you're fighting switch classes, not classes, but certain stances and stuff, kind of like they do in Final Fantasy VII Remake, where you had to do certain things to break the character. Like, man, that you can't tell me that shit wouldn't be dope, man. That would be awesome. So I would definitely choose Final Fantasy 1. The story wasn't too great in Final Fantasy 1, because I mean, story was pretty much you going to fight the ultimate evil, which was Chaos slash what was his name? Not Golbez. What was his name, man? Garland, I think his name was. I think it was Garland. Yeah, the Garland slash he turned into Chaos at the end of the game. So yeah, man, that's one thing. Now I will give Final Fantasy 2 his props, cause at the end of that game you fight the Emperor both. Like if you get the right version of that game, I think it was the Game Boy version. You can fight both the Emperor. He was considered one of the most powerful Final Fantasy bosses, cause you fight him in Hell and Heaven. He took over both, and you had to fight him in both. That was nuts. That was just crazy. So, but yeah, Final Fantasy 1, man. I would like to see that game get remade with the class system and then action RPG likeness. That would that game it was good. It was good. The characters were dope. It was a fun little game. So, man, but yeah, other than that, Square Enix has a lot of other projects that came out, man. Like as far as RPG wise, man, they got fucking Nier coming out, Nier Replicant, which looks, oh man, Nier Replicant looks freaking dope, man. Nier Replicant looks so good, man. I think they actually released a new trailer for this game, and they had the other game, Nier Automata, was amazingly popular. I think once they saw the popularity of that, they was like, oh nah, if that, we going to release this game. We're gonna release this the older game and remake that. So that's what I'm saying. Like that's another game that's getting remade. Like Nier Replicant came out on PS2, my dudes. That's PS2. So man, that's what I'm saying. These guys are going into the vault, like with their most popular games, and they saw how Nier Automata did, and so they was like, you know what, yeah, let's remake Replicant, since Replicant never actually came here either. So that's pretty cool. It's gonna be pretty cool to actually see that and see how that game runs and how it looks. I don't know if Platinum is developing this game, but yeah, it looks really, really good, man. It looks really, really good. And also Square just released Bravely Default 2. They just released Bravely Default 2 out for the Switch. So it's interesting to see how that game is going to turn out as well, man. Cause I actually own it. Bravely Default 1 on the DS. It was good, but I never finished it because shit, it was a DS, man. I'm old. I can't be looking at that little bitty screen to play that game, man. So nah, that it just wasn't my cup of tea. But as far as Square Enix go, man, like dude, they got a lot of projects going on. I really feel like the JRPG juggernaut Square Enix is back, man. I really do. They got a shit ton of games coming out, like that are good. They are good. I have high hopes for 16. Bravely Default 2 has gotten nothing but good praise. Nier Automata was dope. They getting Nier Replicant is coming out. Final Fantasy VII is probably their most ambitious project yet, with multiple parts, and then releasing multiple parts of that. And it's like they got so much shit it's so much stuff coming out from them. And so like so with them being my, because I always stuck up for Square Enix back when they released 13, when they was going down, they were going downhill. But people was like not buying their games, like, oh man, Square Enix and lost their edge and all this stuff. I was like, nah, y'all sleeping on Square. First of all, 13 wasn't even that bad, bro. Wasn't even that bad. It wasn't bad enough to be like, man, this game is shit. I actually enjoyed a little bit of it. But anyways, yeah, I really feel that the Juggernaut is back, man. I really feel like they are back, and they're about to tear some shit up in the RPG game, man. Because for a while there, it was getting taken away from Square Enix trophy was getting taken away by Atlas and the Persona crew. And like Shin Megami, man, with Shin Megami, I'm pissed at them because now like Persona 5 came out and man, Persona blew up. I remember I got into Persona when Persona 4 came out, and then after I played 4, I went back to play 3 and all the rest of the Persona games and the other SMT games like Nocturne, Digital Devil Saga, and all those games. I went back and played all of those, and it became one of my favorite RPG series as well. But they're pissing me off because they announced a new Shin Megami Tensei game, and there has been no sign of that damn game. And I'm like, where is this game, dude? It's on Switch. It's on Switch. It ain't like like, man, like, where is it? Like, I want to see something. Like, they barely showing any gameplay for that. But like I said, man, right now, Square Enix is taking over that RPG game, man. Atlas is still up there, man. Like, because they are blowing it up with Persona 5 right now. Persona 5 has really shot the Persona series up to a new level, man. Like, I still gotta beat Persona 5 Royal. I beat the original Persona 5. I gotta beat Royal, and I gotta play Strikers as well. But man, like, as much as I love my Persona, like my shit SMT, and how much I love Persona, man, Square, they was my original. That was my original love there. And they coming back, like, they was like, oh nah, we finna get back in this RPG game. We finna get back in his JRPG game. And with action RPG games at that, man, they are killing that gameplay style right now. So it's really cool to see them go into this new modern day direction with JRPGs, man. But they still keeping their classic RPGs too, like Dragon Quest and Bravely Default. Both of those games still use classic turn-based, but the only one that would use turn-based back in the day, which is Final Fantasy, is going to the new style now, and it's blowing up. So let me know what you guys think. Are you excited for the new Final Fantasy games and the direction Square is taking with Final Fantasy? What Final Fantasies would you like to see remade? Just let me know in the comments, like the video, and then that's pretty much it, man. I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your day. I am out. Peace.